Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Scott Heckes. I'm a board member for the KINGSLEY Art Club. It's my honor today to introduce today's speaker, Wosene Worke Kosrof. I had the pleasure of meeting Wosene and his wife, Patricia, a couple of years ago in context with the Crocker Art Museum's 2023 art auction. And prior to the meeting, I was told by our Scott Shields that, in Scott's words, Wosene is a big deal. Wosene is an Ethiopian painter and mixed media artist. Wosene was awarded his BFA with honors from the School of Fine Arts in Addis Ababa in 1972 and received an MFA from Howard University in 1980. He is best known for his innovative renderings of his native Amharic script, and he is the first Ethiopian-born contemporary artist to incorporate this script, these script symbols, as a core element in his fine art paintings. His recognizable signature emerges by distorting, elongating, dissecting, and reassembling these symbols as images. Wosene likes to explain his relationship between, he likes to examine the relationship between sound and color in art, and says jazz is especially important in his creative process. Wosene's paintings, in his words, quote, create a visible, interactive surface like an icon available to everyone. It allows them to have dialogue and to take them into memory. Wosene's works are in major museum collections, including the Smithsonian Museum of African Art, the Newark Museum, the Neuberger Museum in New York, Indianapolis Museum of Art, the Fowler Museum at UCLA, the Samuel Harn Museum in Florida, the National Museum of Addis Ababa, and the Crocker Art Museum. He is included in many private and corporate collections, and he exhibits widely in the United States. Please join me in welcoming Wosene.
Hello, everybody. I just want to make sure you have your credit card with you too. I'm just kidding. I'm just so thankful for all of you to be here, for the Kingsley Art Club, also the members and everybody, around it. It really meant a lot for me to come and say what I can say. This is what I never really know before I came to the United States. It's been about 43 years, 45 years since I came, but I never really looked for an opportunity to come here. I wouldn't get out of the country. I thought Ethiopia was like America, and I had no conscience on that. And somehow I ended up through a gentleman who I know works in the U.S. Embassy, somehow managed to get me to come for a show here. It was organized through the United States State Department of something. I can't even remember clearly. But within that, I have to leave my mother. And that was not very easy for me. It was not very easy for her. There was no one in the house. My brother went out somewhere else, so I have to be around her. She never went to school until later on. She one time sort of learned through some kind of literacy campaign in the country to write her name. And I was like totally surprised. I said, oh my God, Worke, that's her name behind me. Because she was my dad and she was my mom. And I is still kind of suffering a time when I remember her. But, it's a memory most of us are going through, friends, families, and all that. But again, I have to tell you, I went to a church school when I was a little kid, learning about, it's a Coptic Christian church, mostly related with Jerusalem, because Emperor Haile Selassie was the time of the king, and he was a son of Judah, king of kings, and all that. While that was happening, most of us have much more of embedded Coptic practices. And I was little, I just don't even know what that is exactly. But I followed everything in the neighborhood, the culture, everybody does things similar and all that, respect, value, and all that. Well, this was happening. The church school gave us every possible way to respect people, to be a good human being, to pray, to do all possible things to your neighbors. And my mother was so strict on that. And not that I was really vicious, but I was a little street kid in a way. You know, I'm not out on the street. I like to see things. I remember there was an Italian store. We always went to eat this salami, and that is like a no-no, you know, like a pretty much like a Jewish culture in a way, like a seafood, like a lobster, crab, and fish that you don't eat in Ethiopia and also stuff. Except there's one fish is called blue Nile perch. That's the only thing you could eat. So I went over at some point, I have to be liberated. I went to my mother and I said, I brought some salami for you. And then she freaked out and, of course, got a priest the next day to come. Then I remember I was covering up with really a wooden bed, and the priest came in with water. She gave him water, and I looked underneath by little slide. He was there. I said, "No, go out of here, go away." And the priest said, "Oh yeah, he's evil on him." He said, I said, "No, I don't have no evil on me." And then I hear the water flying all over my bed cover. I mean, it's kind of like a circus in a way, but it was big time for my mother to watch that because she wanted that evil of the salami I ate to go away. That would bring something. Imagine how things translate to people in time and culture and space and all that. And so anyway, you know, after that, I did a schooling further at the School of Fine Art. I really didn't know how to draw. Even though, you know, my life as a canvas is basically based on the thing that I have done way early, copying little drawing from on the wall that my mother has this little chubby, nice little kids with a non-fat dry milk picture, you know, that advertisement. I was way old. So I was always thinking, wow, these are really cute kids. So I would draw that. And my brother, my older brother said, kind of wonder how I do that. And so I said, would you like me to draw another thing? Yeah, I did. And then he said, let's go to a School of Fine Art. I said, oh no, I want to be a soccer player. Or maybe a pilot, because I think one time I saw a plane flying up, and then I fell backward actually, looking at the plane, and want to be a pilot. It never had happened, so he took me there. And so I sat in the class. Very shortly, I'll make it short. We had a German teacher named Herbert Seiler, very tall. And we were all these little kids, you know, running around. Even when I was really grown up at the time, going to the School of Fine Art, I was still young. So Herbert Seiler put something on the tape, on the area where we all would sit down and draw. I look at the table, I say, oh, what's the big deal? I can draw that table. I only looked at it 1 second. And then I draw that, and I make my own drawers into it. Drawers, like a little design around it, all around. So he was walking around and came by. He said, where did you get this table? I said, it's over there. He said, look at it, he said. When I look at it, all that wasn't even there. He said, drawing is something you have to really look for. Look at things, and then that's what it is. But in a way, it seems that way. But further down now, the way I think, it's really beyond that. What you see is what you see, but you know, that's what we have the mind to continuously adapt. We see always changing everything. You know, you can see all this attachment and all that. So I did that, and but in the first moment, he tore the paper. And I think there was another guy too, had like about 17, and then went home. Never called my mother. My mother always think it could be a magician work, to be an artist, to draw in one of those Ethiopian classical art, what is called a magic scroll. It's a long skin, probably like about 4-inch, scripted by a priest, and you carry it as an amulet. Usually women will carry it. It's beautiful. It has an image of eye on the side. It could be angels. Joseph, Mary, all that. You never know what could be, but incredible. So I was really disappointed, so I didn't tell my mother. I had a nightmare. I said, how am I going to do this? How am I going to go to the School of Fine Art? Because he tore my page, my paper and all that. But I went on, never told my mother. Guess what? This teacher, I was teaching with him at some point later on in my life. I never even get into the class. I get literally handed. I had also a classmate, a very good friend of mine named Tadessa Nasfit. He and I are sort of like really buddies, so we continued to paint and all that, draw and all that. And then further down, my grade was really pretty high, and I was one of the distinction students to be honored by the emperor. I got a gold watch, a Romer gold watch, I remember, and some clips, and then there's big English literature. I could not even read it now. It was really complicated. It was about Macbeth and all that, And how would I read that? So I carried that book in the neighborhood for 2 days, because nobody ever have seen a book like that size. And then I saw it after many years. It's still in Ethiopia. I don't know if it is now. I think everything was cleaned and all that. But what I was trying to say was that my being a distinguished student further allow me, my ability further allow me to be a teacher at the School of Fine Arts. So I was teaching there. I was really happy. But way before that, it happened by the international community. I just want to mention that to you. All international community people will raise money by selling all kind of stuff. Beer. There was an area down in the stadium in Ethiopia, the national, the capital city, and I knew that the emperor will come there. And I went to this neighborhood where I was. This woman is an Ethiopian woman, very light skin. She have a red lipstick. I haven't seen anybody like that. Lipstick, and she's smoking. I always watched her through the window outside, and she's smoking. I said, what kind of woman is she? This is so incredible, So one day I went there. I said, I'm Wosene. I said, I have to really be shrinking, And then she said, oh, sit down. She said, I sat down. What would you like to do? I would like to be part of this program. I would like to help this woman association. I really was looking for some money for myself too, So anyway, she said, okay, I'll just remind people here, so maybe you can bring a couple of drawings. And so I said, okay, so I went over and took a couple of drawings. She said, okay, take them back. This day, before that, bring the drawings. I took the drawings back. And then there was a photographer in one part of the town that I live. I told him, remember, the emperor is coming to see my drawing. So make sure you come, because I need evidence, And so he was so excited. So he came, and I walked to this area. Earlier, I borrowed a jacket from a neighborhood kid who had a well-to-do jacket, because I didn't have really a nice jacket. So I wore that jacket and went there and stood and waiting. And somehow, by luck, the emperor was coming. And I see the photographer was standing right behind me. And so the emperor and his daughter came. Oh, the very nice drawing that I have to tell you, honestly, because I saw them after a while. This looks like, wow, Picasso, said the daughter. And I said, Picasso, was that the piece of paper? Is that the frame? I had no idea what Picasso was. Imagine. And they know what it was. So they chose this, I think there were 3 or 4 drawings. They took them all. And I ran home by excitement to tell my mother, I met the emperor, and guess what? He took my work, so we're going to have money to pay for our house rent. That was $3, that kind. That was a lot of money. $3 for the house rent. And my mother was working in people's house, cleaning and all that. But in that moment, the big soldier kicked the guy who was photographing me, kicked his butt, throwing over, and he immediately ran out of there. I didn't see him because I was overwhelmed. And then there was a little dog. It's a colonel. It has a title of military, Colonel Lulu. If you ever Google, you would see it. Colonel Lulu, the little dog puppy, runs around, and if that dog pee on you or bark at you, you'll be taken in the back room. And I was like really skeptical. I said, oh, hell, I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, I was like, my fear, it's like death and life. I'll get this money, I'll take to my mother, then she will be a little bit relieved. My mother never believed me, Anyway, so there was no way I could really go further down. But I taught for a while, anyway, after that at the School of Fine Art. And it was really an incredible experience. Beside being a teacher, was my teacher at the same time. But then after many shows, I ended up coming to the United States through this State Department program. About 4 of us, I think, 4 African artists, and I never went. 2 years later or 3 years, the Shah and the Ethiopian emperor got killed, overtaken by socialist military government, and the U.S. government gave a staying of 6 years or 5 years, I can't remember, to Ethiopians and probably Iranians at the time to stay. And that was kind of relief. And I told my mother that she didn't know what to say. My brother said, oh, don't come. I said, well, I'm not going to come. What am I going to come? Because I don't have no job there. I left my good job teaching at the college. And finally, I stayed in Addis, and I went to Howard University. I went to Howard University through some Ethiopian, artists and, that I know, and, getting into MFA program, which I got accepted. And then I have a little bit further stories on that. But I would like to mention to you this particular painting in here that you see. It is really a breaking down of the feudal system, the time when the house was really sort of getting ordered, the incense you can see burning, the door, the wall. These are all women usually sitting in every room talking. And here is a table that was at some point a classical table, the chair, where everything was torn apart, and then the chickens were running over. It is almost the takeover of the generation of the system, the communism, whatever in that sense. But it was really a long time. It was a very nice painting. It was like 9 feet by 9 feet or 10 feet, something like that. I ended up actually buying this painting with 300 Ethiopian birr, which is $100 US. And the director was totally surprised. Why in the hell am I painting? Because what they do is they paint. There were like 4 or 5 paintings underneath it that was destroyed. And then this was painted blank, and then I started to paint it. So I painted, and I took it home, and it was standing on the wall on the side of the door, the dirt floor. My mother always cleaning, putting water, and then finally it really broken halfway. I tried to sort of straighten it up. I had no other place to put it. In time, it really folded in 2 pieces, and I'm not sure what exactly has happened. It is a kind of sad story. But anyway, coming back to the USA, studying Howard University, I did a very nice painting to impress the class of a naturalistic image, very cubism-like. And I was very good on that. I knew how to. And there were students, about 11 of them, and Jack Donaldson, the gentleman who was the chair of the Department of Fine Art, was there. And he said, what do you guys think about this painting? They were so amazed how beautiful it was. But what is that? He said. And I'm just listening, barely talking English. I mean, I do, but not very much. Well, it's very good style. The work is good quality. But what is that you have in here that you didn't bring over? There's something you have to bring something. And I said, what the hell am I going to bring? And soon I understood in a private conversation with him, he said, Wosene, you have Ethiopian manuscript writing, which is the only written alphabet in Africa. As someone I was mentioning earlier to you, in the church school, that's what we learned. The number, it has numbers and all that. It's only one in Africa. And he said, why don't you do something with that? I remember we had one of your work many years ago. Sometimes I don't remember. A show at Howard University, there was something into that. Why don't you do that? I said, oh, okay. I was a little bit depressed. So I went to my apartment. I was really sagging. I said, I miss my mother. I said, I lost all the ability that I have to draw painting as I used to. Now, writing? What am I going to do with the writing? I have never seen writing as an art form. Where am I going to go now? I'm going back to zero. And I was really saddened and all that. So I tried to continuously do, and then and I came to this painting, a mother and child. This was first, I was trying to carve them, put them in boxes around. There's always a mother and child. That was supposed to be me and my mother. It was a portrait like that. I never get separated from her. I want to always hold into her. So the writing become in boxes, the writing become different places. The head, the lower label, that's the child, that was me, and the lower part also the box and all that. And that gave me a little space. And he was really impressed. He said, yeah, okay, let's go a little more. And he was always looking forward to what I do. And I don't know what I was doing. So after this, I went on writing some sketches way before these sketches, and he's always laughing because I didn't know what to do exactly. And then I ended up going to New York City with friends. See, graffiti, New York City, on the train, everywhere. I said, oh my God, this is it. I said, now I know why writing has some sense of beauty. I never really know that. And then that became the element that I carry with me. And so I paid a great deal of attention to the script, and within that script, right after a few series came to my work. The first series was Graffiti Magic, which is based on the New York graffiti and toilet or whatever. No oppression, no against this, no against that. And I said, yeah, I can really work something around that. And then seeing Keith Haring, there was another artist, forgot his name, Basquiat, and many others. I said, yeah, now I can really do. So you can imagine information is everywhere. There is an information here for me to see how I change my painting by having to see you people here to share a moment with me, to look at the works. And then I'm always translating things. I don't know where it is going. I'm like a little kid, always excited. I could cry. I do cry in my studio, like I didn't get enough candy or milk, whatever. And the same thing in here, in the process that I do, I went after that with the graffiti magic, and then after a while, was 1988 to 1984, I think, it was called Graffiti, the New Alphabet. Africa, the New Alphabet, yeah. Africa, the New Alphabet start to emerge. What it was I didn't have much of information about African art. Like mask, there is no mask in Ethiopia. It's always biblical stories. I mean, if you think many Ethiopians then really want to go to Israel, all of them want to go there and live proudly. There's a great deal of that connection. So I have to include this alphabet, Africa, the New Alphabet, with a rest of other African mask, weaving, textile, and all that my awareness was getting a little bit better. I'm aware, I'm learning. It cannot be just simply a graffiti magic, but Africa, the New Alphabet. And then further down, the third one become the color of words. The color of words open up everybody in there. No isolation. I never even isolated people, but this is really a global, like white, everybody is included in here. And that was part of the thing, and I was doing. But you can see this Africa, the new alphabet, how the African, the female here standing here with the spear on the left side. Yeah, this sitting on her chair with the spear. This is her words, what she said. She is a symbol to me as an earth. I am a man, I'm on earth too. But there was a great deal of also the society and the family women really do care a whole lot about society development or children and all that. So you can see the red and the black writing become the major script in many Islamic writing, Hebrew writing, and many others. The red is always for the Jesus, Mary, and the Sunday holidays. The black one is for the rest of us. So I thought maybe the rest of us should really come first. Mary and Jesus always would have it, so there's no problem. They don't mind if they use a black writing into that, but I was experimenting. At the same time, one of the things is I'm not a street activist. I am just a reasonable person to myself. I collect things from the surrounding area. This is a mixed media. One of the mixed media that I have done. You can see the credit card, the soda can, the Coca-Cola. I started to collect not just simply junk, but material, soda cans, beer cans, or pomegranate, whatever, and aluminum, shed metal, that I put them together to make sense, a coordination of that, what I call the color of words, which just really went beyond. This was one of my very early work, 1994. And then there was another series came, words spoken from spoken to see. From speaking to the local neighbors or whatever, it start to really become a word that anybody could be able to see it. No one has to read anything. There isn't much of anything written in here, but the sense of, like as I mentioned, the red one is always for, Jesus, all that, the rest of us with the black one. But here, I try to really distort. Imagine coming from that natural state painting that I was very good to come writing. How in the hell am I going to do that? Okay, graffiti magic, New York, and all those things that I have seen. How would I do Wosene? I'm searching for who I was. Not that I'm interested about myself, but they said, come, bring something with you. That put a lot of pressure on me. And I said, I have no mother, I have no father. Kind of sound like a feeling really bad, but it's not that. It's something that I have to really continuously imagine and work. And this was one of the what I call word play, color of words, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's the first one. But then word play really came along with this one. This is one of the painting. It's like a classroom. And in the creativity, there is really no boundary. Many people say they are not artists. All of you are artists. But some people have a little bit extra push, talent, interested, really pushing. I mean, I was like that. I was pushing, no matter what. Not that I was really a great artist or a great painter, a great student. So I took the responsibility. I said, okay, here is the letter. What shall I do in the classroom? What could it be? You can see the number, the fee. The first one on the left top is fida, kurar, which is the string. The second one, the third one is the fish. The fourth one is the church called a Rock-hewn church. You might have heard about Lalibela. The last one is a bull. And then this is a little triple house pattern. The next one is pattern. The third one is the tree. And the fourth one is the ladder. And the other one is the crescent. And then it goes down and flat there in the middle. Next to is the mountain. The last one is condom. And I have to say, a lot of Ethiopians see that, they really freak out. Oh my God, it's like my mother, they could have called the priest. huge people who were all over me. But it was an issue at the time that the health situation was critical here in the U.S. And I've been here a long time. So I said, oh, I gotta, it's not always that you add something for a joke or a humor or whatever. But in the mind, I spend a lot of studio by myself. It's very lonely. It's really sad sometimes. Sometimes I dance. Sometimes I cry. I get out. I can't stand being there. Sometimes I can't wait to go there. I drink my coffee and all. So with all that, I try to really break this because Ethiopian writing really fit in a box, like in a square box in the classical parchment paintings and manuscripts. And I said, well, this is what it is. And it came out, it has all different kind of symbols and the numbers, which in the bottom you can see. And it says Trimlet on the top, which is education. And they all really deformed and all that came to something else. So further down, this is still in the wordplay series. You can see what exactly has happened from that particular painting earlier we saw. We came to this one, the House of Words, I think it is the title of it. It is how kids learning, how you throw blocks, what is the block, how are the blocks going in different direction. No one has to read anything. There's nothing much you can read. That is all a contest of composition, coloring, balance, and movement. The spaces, where would a space go? I have no advisor. I don't look advisor in the studio, I am by myself in a state of madness in a way. I'm still conscious. But what do I live? What do I take? I had no plan when I started to paint this. And I don't start on the top, or I don't start in the bottom. I start somewhere. I put paint, I rub around, I on my knees, and around spray water, I use acrylic, and further down, I turn the painting. I go outside for a minute to look at the trees, birds, and then I come back around, turn it 2-3 times. And I go out again. This frustration, fear I have. Where do I go? I don't know why I have the fear, but then somewhere I put it in a position, it starts to speak to me. It's like a new friend say, hello, how are you? Yeah, do you live around here? Oh yeah, I live around here, I do this. And then our conversation go, oh, let's have a coffee. Oh, absolutely, yeah, you live here? Then the conversation will start. So every color start to fit in. Would it be the right way to paint it? No, I would really know. I don't know. But somewhere my eyes, as like you testing wine, my eyes test all this movement of color. The blue next to, the cobalt blue next to the cadmium yellow, or the red, or the darker brown over white. Your eyes start to see how you really have a nice salad. You're making a nice salad, you're eating it. Your eyes start to feel, because it could look like there's a lot of salt in the salad. Oh, how could I do? So you are struggling in your own self to make sense how these little blocks becoming. So the transformation of this word is from where it was, even to now, you can see a little bit of the work. And again, this is one of the work, and I can't remember. This is actually owned by Harlem Kober. You might have seen a lot of his series on Netflix, He actually wrote something on me while I had a show at the Crocker Museum many years ago when he bought this painting. And you can see how each of these paintings have their own sense of playfulness. Who wants to read anything in there? What we read is color formation, things that we remember. Oh, that blue over there. Can I go over there? Is there a cow there? Is there a bird flying over there? That's where, when an artwork comes to your house, it's not just to fit your couch or to look like your sofa or your wall. It should be something like, hello, how are you? And man will say that, but when you walk in, he said, Okay, yeah, you walk away. You share your feeling to a place that you are adapting a stranger. It is a stranger, it seems, but it's not a stranger. It brings the shine to you every time. When you light up, when you have a plant around it, when the sunshine is on, and then when you have a glass wine, looking at it, you wonder, what in the hell is this crazy painting is? Because, paintings also agitate people to the higher kind of even possible crime. But really you can see how a chef makes some food, he or she, and then how somebody really dress up a nice clothes. I mean, you stay in Milan, you in Paris, you'll see women, particularly men too. I mean, dressed up with something really strange and walking like, whoa, how in the hell anybody would put this dress? Look at how beautiful it is. Our judgment is to our understanding and also see how we can explore wider range of space. This writing, again, I'm one of first Ethiopian artists who really brought it to a larger scale and all that. But while this was happening further earlier, seeing what is his name? It's an American painter who used writing. Forgot his name for the moment, but anyway, it's much how a writing really become dust, how writing become emboldened, how writing become a jungle like you can walk through, how writing become like a settle things that you can say A, B, C, D. It's tremendous elements, how writing become a tree, how writing become a pattern, your own face. Where would you go into this painting and how could you get out of it? So that's what has happened in the process, pretty much what I went through. And then this is also a word place here. This is one of a painting. It's almost like a tukul house, a little house. I don't live in this kind of house, but many houses have a grass roofing and a wall in the bottom. And this is words of memory. Again, I go back to the punishment that my mother portrayed, not physical, but a word punishment to be a very good person. Be reasonable, helpful, don't steal. My mother, when I was working at the School of Finance, she'd always think I stole the money because she didn't know where in hell I was working and making money. Because I never wear a tie. I always have a sweater, I have an afro, and I bring the money. She said, oh, you with Jim. Jim is one kid probably she saw with me, maybe we're smoking, throwing cigarette from the street and smoke together, and somebody whispered that to her. And so she had that in her head. Every time I bring the salary to pay everything and all that, my money said, no, take this money. I told you not to steal any money. I will report you to the police. And I always reported every month, So her word wasn't frightening to me, but the word was, I was really looking to strengthen my memory. And so this is what ended up words of memory. The fact it was viewed on New York Times many years ago by Colin Cotter, a known writer in Art and Review once or twice, which is really basically a kind of painting that I like myself, because you might simply think it's really black. There's a lot of colors in the black area, in the surrounding area. There's so many colors in there, one cannot even see. But at the same time, the simplicity of that red roof is like, okay, boy, get yourself ready. Be reasonable. Learn this. I remember going up on a tree as a little kid. One time, I scratched my skin on the tree, and then I said, Mom, can you help me? Looking down. She said, no, you come down as you go up, she said to me. I say, how am I going to go down by myself? That warned me. I got to be really straighten up things. So I came down. I said, well, next time I go up, I got to come back. I can call my mother. And that further down really build up, and that's really words of memory, how parents, the fathers and mothers also continuously process to see how they raise their kids so they be a future generation powerhouses, So, yeah. And this is one of also the painting, the time, which is the red sky, night of the red sky. It is the time when I also, a memory that I struggled to when I left the country because so many people were dying. It was a military, took place in Ethiopia, and where the emperor was literally died or deposed, and many people got killed, and a lot of people called CIA and all that on the street. You walk on the street, you'll see kids tied up. They have no much knowledge. Not that I have a knowledge. I never had any knowledge, but I was frightened. I said, what the hell is that? So every night you wear your clothes and you sleep in your bed, waiting if anybody would break the door, and then you jump out on the window. Where would you go? I mean, it was the time, what they call it, red terror. Might heard of that in Ethiopia. And this was a reminder of the yellow, the green, and the red is the Ethiopian flag. And this is really sort of like the underground movement, the people who try to really come out of it. A lot of students came from Germany, France, all that from in Ethiopia too. The time of the feudal dying, that was not a bad idea. Sorry to say that, because that was also really crucially backward. But the emperor time, we got really a lot of things we learned. But time to time, there are new power coming. There's a new kind of conspiracy, a new kind of things that directed things to another movement and all that ways. And sometimes you wonder, is this country or Africa, that context, has really improved? Might have improved. If you see, like Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, you're not even recognizing it. It could look like really a New York City, part of it. Honestly, you would not even believe. But this particular painting, the one before, again, is my continuous attempt to create a bridge, like a writing. I'm writing. That's like a line, a note, a sketchbook, a note that I'm writing. But you can see how red color, that particular red, always injects somewhere where it doesn't interfere, the way back on the far right, second level. How are they also really printed, graphic prints, how everything is sort of curved out there. The sense of coffee, awareness, the coffee part is always, you really are awake, over there. So this particular painting was not very easy for me. It's painful. The time when I painted, there were quite a few paintings I have done, and I have to paint them. I still have a sadness in me, the things that I have lost in my good friends that time. This was almost like 40-some years. And so this kind of reminds me, I love the painting. It does bring the memory, but it's not with me. It's somebody else. I really feel good about it. And then here we come. And this is another painting. You can see how those letters from the underground came up, and a celebration of letters, where they go, how they go, what happened. It's just a continuous challenge to me. Wosene, what do you do? How do you go further? What is new? Am I painting something new? I haven't seen anybody's painting like this, but would I have somebody's similarity with this painting? There may be, but I am continuously exploring. You can see the year to year, the change of words, the change of, not the word, the change of style of painting. Always there is a movement of a space. There was always a divided space. What is important, what is not, what is big, what is small. This is where I go to the studio without not knowing where I go. I'm going to the studio with my coffee cup, like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, I need a GPS. Okay, now pick up your brush. Start to paint, like, it's kind of really strange. So I go inside and I look at the work. I walk around like a little animal in the zoo, and then somewhere I will strike in to see how I would start doing something, become finding where my mind will go, where it will end up. I sign my name a lot of the time at the end because it goes to the gallery or an auction, wherever they needed to have that. But is that painting done? When would I know it's done? I really don't know when it's get done. But my eye, like I said, my mind say, okay, everything seems like balancing. I'm moving like this, like I'm dancing. But I'm looking, okay, this one here over the, and somewhere, like I said earlier, it's a nicely made salad, not too much oil, not too much whatever garlic there is, it's enough that you enjoy. That brings in a sense of a spice in your mouth, and you stick, and that is what my eye does, as endless movement into that. But anyway, this is one of the work that I have produced, a sculpture, big sculptures. Now they are put into a big cultural center. I'm very happy about that. There were about 8 or 9 or 12 of them. I made these little mock-ups with a little soda cans, cutting, pasting them, put them together, and we went to Ethiopia. I had a major show at the National Gallery. I was telling someone earlier what we did with me and Patricia, and finally I got welders, and they did. I don't really like welding, fire in front of me, but these guys did the welding and all that. This woman is a former director of the National Museum of Art. This is behind the museum. It has to be painted so it will be ready to be in the show. But you know, this was a total shock for a lot of Ethiopians to see these big sculptures. Some of them were whispering, oh, Mr. Wosene is going to open a big hotel. Oh yeah, I think I have a feeling he has a restaurant is going to open. I'm just like dying. I walk around it. Now, I like that. That's what because they've never seen it, and no one would really ever think about it. I took the local writing to a monumental sculpture, to that one, the one you saw earlier, make something out of that has endless possibility. Everything has endless possibility. And so anyway, this is one of also the painting Migration or something. Addis Renaissance, yeah. This is something about Addis. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels, sort of put it together. Again, this painting has been embedded in many ways. There's a lot of ways it would look still fine. Sometimes you take the second one to here, this one over there. There is always this comparable space that might sort of be settled. It's a bit painting. And again, you know, the wildness and the mind, the continuous exploring this writing as a way that it really speaks to anybody in the world. Anybody can have. I mean, my works, Americans don't speak Ethiopian language, maybe some, but any places here in the museum or for privately have the painting, it's not even that. One can take a painting of this, is beyond what the writing is. The writing, I don't say names, I don't do anything, I use them. I take C and D, A, I touch them, I weld them together, I mush them together. Sometimes I separate the letter E part of it and break it down and something stand on it. So I will create to a sense where it's almost like a landscape. The sun, they're rolling marbles out there, and the sun shining. Who knows, there's an ancient sculpture there, over there and to the far left. But again, all in all, that you see what goes in and out, that makes some sense to me, and then I simply sign my name. Like I said, no way you will finish painting or the sculpture unless somewhere you stop it. Because if you keep painting, the painting in 10 years would just look like a big, thick pizza. And then it will become a cement. Then you can really make a roadway on it, you know. But somewhere you say, okay, well, this is it. Let people see what they see. Enjoy it. That's what we are. A celebration of individual people, how you all do something. How do we celebrate your place? How do you celebrate your dish? How do we celebrate your clothes you try to design? So that's how basically I processed. And this is one of the sculpture also I did. That's in Cultural Center right now, and you can see. And there are a bunch of them. And I mean, it was not a very easy work for me, believe me. I mean, if you see these welders, if it is happening here in the U.S., there would be a fire truck starting outside, because these guys are set, with that little flipper, their feet, the fire is running while they're cutting and all that, but they know how to do it. They did. This was one of my show at the National Gallery. Myself, Patricia, and other friends have really produced it, did everything, the floor, the light. I have to go to a light shop in the street somewhere where to bring it. Not that I'm just telling you that I did this, but it was essential. I can't just do all these things without having a good light to spot. There was no light in there. It was one light. It was 25 watt, somewhere like falling down the corner. The room was really needed to be done. We did everything, then finally, it just came to this one, this pretty live painting. You can see, I was excited. I was looking. I'm also overwhelmed by the possibility from a church learning school of a manuscript to a monumental, and then further down now it'll be more of digital stuff and things we see. And for me, the attachment, the position, what to do, how to do, physical and joy was really there. It wasn't any financial benefit to that at the time, but I did that, and yeah. And this is America. This is way beyond words. It's not beyond words. This is one of the work that My America, the title of it. Believe me, a lot of kids love to go through the emojis, the bottles, the animals, the Statue of Liberty. You can see way at the bottom, the African kente clothes, the Coca-Cola there, the no gun. I mean, there's so many things somehow embedded that the earth would really rise up. The statue of the Washington Monument on the left side also standing. There is even a Toyota car there. How it ended up being there, but who knows what. But there's a lot of cut-through in the last part of the piece, right there, the cut-through on the net, usually the women. And next to it is also a chart for the spicy. I mean, there's a lot of things where you could not almost get out of here. The African mask further down above the Coke can. But it wasn't even that. How the writings start to fall. Everything what I think it is. And this is one of my strengths that I have continued to gain in this country, My America. I exploded to my own way how I got in the freedom, how I got in to see a lot of these artists in the museum, even here at the Crocker that I have seen since I came, and many other parts of the world in New York and other, that I saw this artist. Like you can't even breathe looking at this piece of artwork. You have to sit down because you could fall. The beauty, how artists apply sticks, how chefs do that, how designers do that. When we come to recognize and understand and see this could be Ethiopian writing, you may see some. They are also beyond the writing, exaggerated and become everything. And you can see how the spaces are divided. There's a local pattern of clothes. There's a local pot, coffee pot there. There always coffee pot seems appearing. But again, is a mask like the down and the bottom. But again, how would somebody do this? I'm not questioning, but I went through a moment of struggle, questioning and see what I do. Because, like I said, it's a very lonely environment, but you do dance how you can dance. And if nobody likes it, it doesn't really matter. It's not a disrespect. and nobody is forced to like it either. But we all can communicate with ways that we make sense out of it. I think it's an appreciation. A little kid can make a little horse with the grass tied up, and to see how he or she would do that. And it's a moment you can see how one thing is glowing to another, from one element to another. How this writing really becoming much more denser and attractive and edible letters, but way beyond. And there comes, this is one of also my major work at the Virginia Museum in Richmond. It's a pretty large painting. I think it's like 9 by 9 feet or 8 feet, something like that. Was purchased a few years ago. You can see the continuous and attempt of how this is when I have to tell you, I run out of black paint, and I was painting black, and my niece came from somewhere that was Vegas or something with her husband, and so I want to go back in the house, and I'm thinking about this canvas, and then I go back into the studio and I scrape the paint. There was nothing left. I said, damn it, am I going to go and then buy enough paint while my niece is here and I can't really finish? And then the third trip I went back because I was truly nervous into my own head. They don't know where in the hell I was going. I don't know where I was going, but I have something in my sense that I am moving around. So I went back and sat and looked at it. I say, yeah, I don't have to have that black paint. Let me see, I started going with this creamy, like an egg white, like going through curving this black paint. There was a leftover that finally covered a little bit, but slowly went in and carved it, and I was so excited. I said I didn't want to go to see my niece. I didn't want to go to the house. I want to be in here, living here. I'm curious and excited that I don't have to buy paint. I don't have to go there. And then finally, I have to tell you, I was so relieved, and I said, wow, I didn't know that. None of us sometimes know what is tomorrow, but we go forward to live. We go forward to do. I go straight. You can see, I go straight to point. This is, I think, America, the new alphabet. This, yeah, because it is not just simply Ethiopian or Chilean or Panedian writing. It is catch everything. The Ethiopian writing end up being really American in a way. It's not just being American, but it's the expression, the expanded space of arriving, where it goes, how it goes, and through by joy, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I found a black writing is also a basic common writing in many centuries in the world, and still continue to do that. But here it become a new alphabet that anybody, yeah. This is one of the painting also, I can't remember the title. Words of, Monument of Words, yeah, that one. And this is another one also, series which actually owned by somebody who's also big time wine producer. This is also owned by a couple of people I remember. One of also artists, and this is studio, his mother, the title of it. You can see again, look at that rate by itself, like more or less. What in the hell is it doing? But it orchestrating everything. It's like, it doesn't get on your way. You can look at it, but you go around, and then you go back at it. You go. That's the thing about painting. If the painting takes you out of the way, on the left side, when you look at it, there's something wrong. On the right side, there's something wrong. Up, down. So how could you leave it in the position your eye can circulate this way, you go up, you go down, you go up. You are in the moment of that finding something. This is another one, again, in a very graphically presented. You can see that light bluish paint over there on the very top, how much is also tied up with the red one. As I mentioned, classical writing with a red and black is always part of the thing. And yeah, this is, where is this? Anybody knows where this is? Nobody? It's here at the Crocker. I'm just, I'm just kidding you. Yeah, it is here at the Crocker. I'm so thankful that they have this work. You can see the complexity. Again, the way how writings meant and reasonably bigger painting. This is another one of the work series that I have called Beyond Words. Beyond Words is a book that was also produced on me, and you can see writing has never end possibilities. The possibility of not only color, sometimes there is a color that's a little bit brighter because of the image that was taken, I guess, but it's not as bright as it is. But you can see that I just don't have no resting the space. Yeah, I am always consumed by, colors, some colors. Okay, don't come close to me. You violet, go to the green one. Like, I'm talking to my own self, Say, why is this color saying this green to go over there? Okay, but yeah, this is one of also the painting. I think Lucy in America. I think Lucy in America, the first ever lived 3 million years. They found her way out in the desert in Ethiopia. So this is, you can see the American star flag up on the top there too. This Washington Monument, always been a part that I always enjoyed. But again, her travel, her skeleton that was discovered was somewhere in Denver or Chicago for a long time. And so that was part of the series. This is one of my last series, what is called Beyond Words. Beyond Words is like no other way you can say anything. There is still a way you can say beyond words, but it really much more immersed in a very technical and compositionally something different and new. This is the cover of the book, Beyond Words. This is a new work that was also shown, I think it was sold, somebody bought it sometimes ago down in Carmel. There's a gallery down there with my Carmel, and this is a taste of words, taste of liberty. A taste of liberty, the explosion, feel of joy, the happiness of being who you are, the happiness of having a human respect and understanding and all that. And imagine you have such a coloring that you stuck with it continuously without having to go far, even though there are blues and greens, very few here and there. There are almost a touch of things. But in the general sense of orange, yellow, a darker brownish, darker reddish, all this was something really, when you actually see the painting, also looks very nice. So I'm killing every day I go to the studio, even though at times I still catch the memories of sadness. For some reason it comes, my mind feels so thankful. I'm thankful because having this as a way, an outlook where I can express myself was something that I have the opportunity, really being in this country. And my wife, Patricia here, right here, who have been married 40 years, now 42 years, that was a long time, but Second World War, But thank you very much, all. Thank you.
Thank you. And with the committee there, you take some questions from you?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
And William Ishmael has a mic for Clyde. If Ryland asks questions, just raise your hands and we'll bring the mic over. See.
I must have said everything.
It is very clear to me, as well as I imagine many here, that you feel your work through yourself into the painting more than you think the work and then paint it. It is coming through you as opposed to created by your brain in your hand. That's the way it feels to me. I don't know if that's what you got out of your expressions.
Oh yeah, it does have that, definitely. But even though my body feel what it does, it's really my brain, because it goes through my brain. It always going continuously back and forth. So I think my brain decide that at the point. So it really goes in and out. My feeling is my memory in the moment with what I do. And so I think there is that connection that probably makes it the way how the painting really came at the end. Possibly. I don't know if that answer.
Do you have a question? Yeah, my question is to way you just said. How long does it take you to do these kinds of things?
The question is, how long does it take you to do these kind of things?
Yeah. I am a restless person. I try to not drink so much coffee, but I do. It's like I am always like in the flavor of, I grew up in a culture. You probably all know coffee first originated in Ethiopia, and everybody in the neighborhood have this little cup. Patricia have experience that they all call the neighbors, It's not like Starbucks, you go and buy your things, They all knock the door, okay, come for coffee. A coffee ceremony is a time of gossip. Who got married? Who got money? Who got a live ship? Would they gonna barbecue that ship? So we all defeat all this. So everybody drinks this intense coffee. I mean, really strong coffee. And if you ask some, I observed that after many years, went back and did that show another. How you doing? Hi, how are you? I'm good. How is the weather? Weather, like, don't even ask how is the weather, but I say, how is the weather? Is there going to be a rain? Oh, I don't think so. They're so calm after 9 cup of coffee. How could you do that? Like I said, I'll be like, oh, tomorrow it's going to rain. Tonight it's going to start. Oh, I didn't tell you. You go get preserved. But it's that moment that I go through, and sometimes it would take me like about 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I go a long hour. You would not know what was destroyed and built. And the process, what I always call, what I do is destroying and building. The destroying and building, like I said, it would never end unless you stop it. Like I said earlier, it could look like a pizza otherwise, but some doors needed to be stretched a little more, and then or you add something into the powder or flour. So there is many places that shape a vertical, horizontal, diagonal. Is that because every little thing, sometimes a slightest of something you put here, it does affect that. A slight of something you put, the little green stroke in there, I'm not sure the purpose that I consciously did, but it will take about 3 weeks. And if I don't work, if I work like short time, it would take probably a little bit more than 3, maybe a month. But I'm really intensely there, just like restless, Yes.
We have a question here.
First, I want to thank you because you're sending me home feeling wonderful and also wondering if I could find some Ethiopian coffee, which I love. But did you mention music? And if so, what kind of music? You said you go in sometimes wanting to dance, and you mentioned food. Is music in your process?
Oh my God, that's one thing I totally sort of forgot, because I don't think any artist, there are probably artists who sit on their table and paint when they talking to their husband or their wife and their children, and then that's all possible. But I am alone. In this place, one of the things that I have, first time Africa, I met Duke Ellington in Ethiopia. I was very young. He came the first time doing a national show, and no ever one there saw a jazz music, no one ever. So it was about your valley, the mountain, your independence, your this and that. And then so invited, I was very young, went to Duke Ellington, a whole bunch of us took. I was very, kind of curious, shook the hands, and Duke Ellington have a whole lot of musician lineup. I said, oh my God, Lord have mercy. And here he was choreographed very well and represented by beautiful women, beautiful flower. And we all are watching. And I was watching people too, watching my own self. I said, what in the hell is this going to be? And then we start to play. It makes a little sense to me, but I wasn't sure it was a music. So I went back a few weeks ago. I had a little opening, and the guy was playing Duke Ellington's CD, LP, a big one. And I said, I heard this music. This is it. So I went to the owner of, that was kind of a little bit pushing. I'd say, can I borrow your LP? Oh, he said, married to me, frame something, I don't know what that, this is some kind of insulting. You married to, he said, like, how in the hell you want this LP like? And I had this German Telefunken CD LP player that I bought it from someone, 25 Ethiopian dollar, it's like about $5. So I can play that in this little space I had. So finally he gave me, and I was listening to that. And then I started to build up. And then here after I came to to the US, I was living in DC. I mean, one thing I forgot to tell you, actually Kamala Harris was on the other side studying, and I was studying it. I said, how did that happen? She didn't know me. I should have had a coffee with her. Oh, no, I can't do that. But and on the 14th Street and U, there was a lot of music, dance, and all that. One of the things I remember, my chairperson, Jeff Donaldson, I always thank him, and always in the book, he said, Wosene, go to 14th Street and do a sketch on D Street. There is a club. He said, I barely speak English. Oh, I said, okay, that's really not very good. So I went to the club's really rough area. So the guy said, what do you want? Do you have anything? I'm going, beer, drinking beer. Go over there, all right? Go over there. So I went in, and I didn't even order. As soon as I walked in, I'm watching this stage. It was a black artist, African-American artist, I can't remember his name, who had painting of this woman dancing like a fairy, with the guy with the superfly shirt, the deep bottom, like that. And I'm watching this right in front of me. I say, what in the hell is this? And the smoke, the drink. I've never seen anything like that. Where would I see that? I was totally shocked by that. And so I told Jeff Donas, and I say, yeah, I got to go in the sketch. I see, because I was overwhelmed by that. But again, while that continued, I went, the fact I happened to see Miles Davis a couple of times. I love John Coltrane, a big time, and continuous listening. So many, Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong. There's a lot of jazz musicians that Coltrane and Miles Davis are one of the two I hear. I hear all kind of music, but those are the ones who whisper to me. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. I'm patterning my style. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da. I said, why is the trumpet is not there? I realized all colors doesn't jump together, You have to pull your blue color sometimes, where the reds are da-da, 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 da-da. Then the blue color comes, the green. So the music become advising me, helping me to be part of, build up the story. So I try to build that story in me, and those are the things I all the time listen. I'm sorry. Thank you for mentioning that, because I totally lost that. Sorry.
Really? Ik kun me een kijken hier van me. Thank you. Thank you, baby.